Yo, what's up guys, I'm Goth1200 here, and today we've got the episode 2, or 3, depending on what you count as what episode, but properly episode 2 about the FIFA 18 beta test, and I'm here with VFL Dan like last time, and another guest, Ethan. Hello guys.
Hello, how's it going?
Wagwan.
Okay, wag 2. But anyway, so yeah, Dan has since played the game as well. He actually came around my house and played the game, so Dan actually knows, and you can have his opinion on the game as well now, which is good. But Ethan hasn't played the game yet. But yeah, I just want to start off with mentioning a comment that was asked. Sorry, a question that was asked about quick subs and stuff, and I just want to clarify because I may not have made that clear in the last episode. And those quick subs, basically. Regarding quick subs, when I said you couldn't customize it, you can customize it in the sense of you can do them before the match, and you can make the suggestions so that it will suggest the right ones for you. However, you can't do multiple changes in that thing. You can only do one change, which is very annoying in that quick subs section because, like I said, I used before as Azpilicueta. Everyone knows that Azpilicueta can play right back, left back, and centre back. But unfortunately, the game doesn't pick that up. And say if you only have centre backs on the bench, you would want to then, and you're taking off a wing back, you'd then want to move Azpilicueta to that wing back role and bring on the centre back, wouldn't you? But the game doesn't pick that up. So that's what I want to clarify before we get into anything else. So hope that answers everyone's questions. And right, let's get into it. Cool, Ethan.
So I think the first thing I really sort of wanted to mention, I think a couple of people have said, mentioned a couple of things about the starting lineup and stuff, especially in the Premier League. I've seen a couple of shots of what it looks like, but I was hoping sort of it could be elaborated on a bit. So I think from what I've seen, at least it looks bloody brilliant.
Yeah, well, they've those of you that follow EA on Twitter and stuff, and I think I did it on Facebook or other social media platforms, on Instagram. That was it. They released this footage of the new Premier League lineup graphics, and it does look really good. They've got the normal walk up type scene like they have on Sky Sports, where they walk up to the camera almost, as the lineup's been shown, as their line, so to speak. So all the defence walk up together, all the midfielders and then the attackers and goalkeepers, whatever, walk up at the same time. So it's quite cool. So yeah, that's pretty much the graphics. There's not really much else to say there, I guess, other than that. I mean, the graphics does look cool, and it does make it feel more realistic and more just like you're actually there in the game because you see the players. And with transfers as well, for example, in career mode, the players are still there, and with generated players as well, for example, like youth players and stuff, it's their game face that's taken. So you know, like the usual photos that are taken when you just look at the player in the menu screen. It's that type of photo in the kit, and they walk up like that. So it's the same thing. But also, I just want to point out that this is only for Premier League graphics. Unfortunately, the Champions League, and I'm not sure about the other leagues, but definitely not the Champions League. The Champions League is still the same, but it's all Premier League graphics. So it's Premier League graphics that have been slightly improved on top of that. But anyway, that's the graphics.
I've got a feeling they might have something for the Bundesliga though. If you think about it, that's the two main licensed leagues. So we may not know, but there may be something quite cool with Bundesliga, and obviously Champions League. FIFA will be fighting tooth and nail to get their licensing off PES.
Yeah.
So, as soon as that comes in, I'm sure that will all come together. But yeah,
Yeah, because
I've seen,
yeah, because everybody's been crying out that for ages, haven't they? Champions League and Europa League to come on for PlayStation and obviously FIFA. So.
Yeah, they have to go and prize it from PES's cold dead hands. That's the only thing that keeps people with PES at the moment. It's the Champions League. Anyway, with the risk of me waffling on about graphics and such, if we go on to the next thing, Dan, if we can go into a bit more depth about goalkeeping and how goalkeepers work on the new FIFA 18 game.
Yeah, definitely, sure, Ethan. They've definitely improved. We can say that. Matt can obviously tell that as well. Is playing the game. They basically, FIFA 17, say for example. They either, sometimes they could either come out and catch it, or then they just flap at it like a dolphin. They don't do that anymore. They literally got solid hands this time. They finally got hands. Some EA finally done it, so they know how to catch a ball. and especially they've worked on more like on the older one-on-one saves as well. They've really improved keepers stand their ground this time, and they dive, especially when obviously as soon as the player kicks the ball, which is good. So they've got the positioning all correct, and obviously we touched on like the camera angles last time, and for the keepers different like shots as well for animations. And there was obviously when I was playing the game myself, there was when Redmond was on one-on-one against Courtois. Obviously we know how big he is, like big frame, and in the shot was going in the top corner, and he just literally just plucked it out and saved it. So there's more blockbuster saves, as we could call it, Ethan.
That sounds good, actually, with goalkeepers. I mean, it's as you mentioned, it's sort of a problem they had last year where they'd make some insane saves, but then some of the more basic ones they sort of would occasionally mess up. But yeah, it seems that they've definitely improved it from what I can hear from you two, and the small amount we've seen from like sort of videos from EA that they've released. I think also the fact they're using one of their icons as being a keeper as well possibly shows that they've taken a bit more focus on it this year. Tried to make it one of their standout features, possibly.
Obviously with Peter Schmeichel and Ballon d'Or winner as well, coming in, the only keeper to win the Ballon d'Or into the game, so that's fantastic as well.
Yeah. I'm personally looking forward, even though I'm not sure Foot Icon is going to be on PS4, but just seeing Lev Yashin with his hat in the game itself. I don't care if I'm playing it or not, if I'm watching it. To see a goalkeeper with a hat on would be like the highlight of FIFA 18 for me.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, also just to touch on the point that Dan was saying about the saves and stuff. When related to last episode, we talked about the mini animations that are added in. Now, with goalkeepers, it's quite cool because in real life, I'm a keeper myself, and I know that before shots are taken, you often do like a little, not quite skip, but a little jump before you then go and try to dive to save whatever. And they've added that in. Now, I don't think it's in FIFA 17. I've looked for it and I've never seen it. But now keepers in FIFA 18, what they do is when they go to before the players, like as they like wind up the shot, so to speak, the keepers like do a little jump to then get ready to then dive, which makes it a lot more realistic because most goalkeepers do that in real life. So that it does just add that little bit more realism to the game when you're watching like the goalkeeper camera angles and stuff. But yeah, I think that's goalkeepers finished for that. What's our next topic?
Definitely.
I think we might segue quite nicely from goalkeepers to the other end of the pitch, more the attacking third. Now, in the era we're in now, where tiki-taka football is sort of coming as part of a thing, possession-based football, you occasionally forget about the old-fashioned wing play. But one of the areas which I think you mentioned, Matt, being a major improvement this year is definitely in the crossing and sort of maybe the more old-fashioned style of British football in that sort of sense.
Well, yeah. So I think we all know that EA has reworked crossing, and I must say it is brilliant. It's a lot better than the last one because, put it this way, when you press square or whatever platform you're on, but when you press cross, you expect it to actually go to the player that you're aiming for. Now, on FIFA 17, FIFA 16, and probably FIFA 15 as well, I think we know that whenever you press cross, it would then just do it normally, and if you're level with the player anyway, it would do it normally, and it would just come behind the player you're aiming for, and the player would never get it. Now, obviously, it would take a long time to actually get used to the crossing thing, and it's still not perfected now in terms of the FIFA 17. But now with FIFA 18, it just feels so much smoother. I mean, this will link on to the passing and mechanics and stuff that we'll talk about later. But in terms of the crossing mechanics, the way the ball, just put it this way, when I said before you can cross it behind, which would usually happen, when you would do that now, you put the same amount of power, the same aim, you aim it for the same person, it would actually come either just in front of him or actually on the player that you aim for, which is great because obviously that's what you want and that's what crosses are meant to do. And with the normal L1 crosses you do, so the long range early crosses, they're brilliant as well because they're a lot more lofted, and to be fair, it changes on how the different types of players you have in front of you. So if there's players in the way, if there's defenders in the way, he would do a much more lofted cross, whereas if it's a more of just an easy pass through, he would do quite a low ball because there's no possibility of it being intercepted because there's no one there. It would do quite a low ball, and it's easier for the player to actually score. So, you know, the crossing has had this massive overhaul, And with the double tap and the triple tap crosses, you know, it's all so much better. Just the accuracy of it just makes you think, right, okay, crossing is an art form now. We can actually get back to that. But that also brings up another question of heading the ball. And now headers seem quite OP again, so you might get to that stage of, I think it was like FIFA 11 or something, when crosses were quite OP. And all you had to do is run it down the wing, cross it in, and then you'd header it in, and then that would be it. But it's not quite that OP now, because the player physics and stuff are a lot more the dominant, as in the defenders are obviously quite tall. Still, you know, the strength is a lot more characteristic part of it, not just momentum now. So yeah, that's pretty much crossing done. So yeah, but defense, I'd say one more thing with crossing is that counter-attacking. Now, crossing with counter-attacks is probably one of the worst combinations you want to do if you want to not score, so to speak. So it's one of the best combinations to use if you do want to score, because often I've played a lot of games now on FIFA 18, and the amount of goals I've scored from counter-attacking quick football, running it down the wing when there's hardly anyone marking the other player that I'm looking for, because it's a counter-attack, and just quick play, just to cross it in. You know, you take out so many people. It's going to be such a hard work for defenders to actually be able to keep up with the type of passing and crossing that you're now able to do successfully, and that you know, that allows you to score a goal. So, you know, defense is going to be quite difficult in FIFA 18. I'm just putting it out there now. You might come back to say, okay, yeah, it's difficult later, but yeah, it is going to be difficult.
It's definitely in a step in right. I'll get my words out. I mean, it's definitely a step in the right direction, Matt. The way they're going, obviously the crossing and that. It's getting to more of the realistic stage, like different types, different ways, like you were saying there.
Yeah, well, yeah, step in the right direction, like we were saying last episode. A lot of it is. So yeah, it's just getting that. It's just easier to play because the controls that you think you know from the crossing, they actually do what you want to do, which is it's a big like, oh my god, really? But it actually does happen. So, you know, it's worth it. It's worth to get FIFA 18 just see the crossing, because it is so much better than FIFA 17. But yeah.
Do you reckon you'd see maybe this year in FIFA 18 sort of the return, especially as you mentioned with acceleration and that being so important? Do you reckon you see the return of maybe the quick, pacey winger running down the wings to the end of the line, whipping the balls in, and the big 6'2" pacey, quick strikers, sort of the return of that sort of play style? Would you say that may come in and be a bit more prominent now that crossing and heading itself have both been improved?
I mean, I wouldn't say the big whatever you want, say the big Didier Drogba or whatever, to be there to head it in, because the defenders are, I'd say they're about equal to be able to win those crosses and stuff. But in terms of where you want to put the crosses, in terms of the precision and the accuracy of your balls that you put in, is so much better, because, like I said before, you try and put a cross in, and it would go behind the player that you wanted to do, and it would just go off for a throw-in maybe or something, or just go off to the opposition, like right back if you're crossing it in from the left wing or something. But this time it's more accurate, and it goes to a player that you are aiming for, as long as you get the power right, of course. But but yeah, it's just more accurate.
Definitely seems like an improvement to me. Well, if we go from we've gone from one end of the keepers back down to the forwards themselves. Now if we move back with Dan back into the old defensive space, the area which I usually is lump a ball 70 yards in the other direction. But Dan, defending, how would you say that's changed this season? I know you mentioned a bit with the crossing and how defenders themselves will be able to defend and sort of head better in them sort of situations, but defending itself, how would you reckon that has improved in the new FIFA 18?
Well, personally, I think obviously we're starting with the back four here. You know, we're going right back to basics in the beginning, getting the spine. But basically, the ball physics there itself, like obviously, it's more of a good positioning for the defenders. That it's not like they're all going to be all running over the place. Like they're more commanding, they're more disciplined in their positions.
Yeah, if I could add to that defending part. Now, with regards to dribbling and defending, we're going to touch on dribbling in a second, but defenders, it's going to be interesting to see how defenders do it. It does work better, as in the tackles are much more fluid, like we said, we mentioned again with the little animations. The defending looks so much smoother, and the ball physics are so much better. So that puts up the question, are there going to be possibly less EA goals? Now, I haven't conceded one EA goal yet, which is quite good. Exactly, EA. So
Jesus Christ.
I know it's pretty good. I mean, I've played. I think it's up to. I've played up to January, sorry, in the career mode, and that's quite a lot of games. That's a reasonable amount, and I haven't conceded one EA goal yet, which is good. And I haven't seen one EA goal be conceded either, which is like a big one as well. So I haven't actually seen one EA goal at all. So you know,
just wait for the patches to come in, Matt. Wait for the first patch to come in FIFA 18 when they bring it all back.
Yeah, we never know. That might happen, but yeah, God, yeah, but yeah. So EA goals, defending, because of the new ball physics and the little animations and stuff. There was one time, one thing pops out in my head actually. I was Gary Cahill, and I think it was against Aubameyang in the Champions League. And Aubameyang had a long shot.
That's a mismatch.
Aubameyang had a long shot and went to go for a long shot, and obviously, being Cahill, I tried to intercept that long shot, and it was only them two. It was only Cahill between Aubameyang and the goalkeeper. And he went for a long shot. Went for a long shot, and Cahill, I pressed square as soon as I could to slide tackle to then block, and he managed to get it. Literally, he blocked it with his toe and managed to hit it over the crossbar. And it was a full stretch as he went sliding in, and it just looked so cool. And I think these new animations is a big thing, and I'm going to keep on going back to that. Like I said before, these new animations, these new little animations, are a big thing because it makes the game so much smoother, and it makes defending look brilliant. I mean, it really does. Like we say, defending is an art, so you know, and it just looks good.
I think hopefully from like from a neutral point of view myself, obviously having not played the game really, and only seen like snippets, I think with new animations, you mentioned them coming in and like sort of new little, not maybe massive like new features, but little tweaks here and there. I think it definitely freshens up the game, and especially like a game like FIFA where it can be like sort of, it's argued that it can be a bit repetitive. I think the small changes that they try and make definitely sort of freshen up the game and make it a bit more interesting when you come back and play it in the next edition.
Yeah, well, the game itself is just so smooth when you actually just look at it compared to real life football. Yes, obviously we want to make it look like real life football. That is the aim, and I will say this is the closest it's ever been to look like real life football. Because the player faces, I wouldn't say they've improved at all, but in terms of the animations and the way the players look and the way they move, their mannerisms, all those things, just look so much smoother, and they are getting on the right track. I'd say FIFA 19, if they manage to improve these little animations and don't just keep it how they are and then focus on something else, if they manage to improve these animations again, bearing in mind this is the FIFA 18 beta, so it's not even the full game yet, but if they manage to improve these little animations, we will be looking at a very, very, very close to real life game. You know, we've come so far if you think about it from like the FIFA 01 days and whatever, you know. But this time we're getting close. It's starting to become noticeable. That's getting quite good. So you know, it's just the graphics that I guess will need improving after time. But you know, that will take time.
Obviously, they got the new Frostbite engine with it now, so they can really go far with it.
Yeah. So that's obviously a pointer. That's obviously helped FIFA. But yeah,
I think definitely of new additions of engines usually works. I mean, if you look at the PES, especially last year, they used I think the game engine they ended up using was the one that they used in Metal Gear Solid, the new game. And I think definitely the ability now to adapt game engines used for, say, more open world games and sort of implementing that in the sports game world is definitely sort of setting them up at like an extra level in terms of the graphics and the capabilities that they can use nowadays.
Exactly.
So Matt, so if any of you guys have ever seen us play VFL, I'm sure Matt's uploaded a lot of it. Matt himself, well, very well known attacking player as well as a defender, but we're going to focus on his attacking qualities: dribbling, first touch, sprinting, all things you use. How would you say that in FIFA 18 that's improved?
Well, I wouldn't say it's improved, but I say it's more specific to the player now. Now, it's got more of an impact on the player. So, because of, again, these new animations, but you notice when you tap R2 or sprint or whatever your controls may be, but for me it's R2 to sprint, you notice that you've pressed it because the ball starts becoming quite far ahead than usual. Again, I'm going to say this again, it's more realistic. Because Hazard is a great example. He's one of the world's best dribblers. Not the best, I'm not going to say that, but he's He's one of the best in the Premier League. Yeah, well, whatever. But anyway,
Yeah.
and when you play with him, according to FIFA anyway, he's one of the world's best dribblers. Let's use the stats, shall we?
That's fine. That's
Okay.
fine. That's fine.
Right. So and it shows because when you pick up the ball with him, you start to dribble with him. You can change direction so quickly, and mentioning defenders again. The defending, it will seem easier, but it will also seem harder depending on the type of dribbler you're against. Now, when I say that, I mean if they change direction too quickly, you will have no chance. Now, you will need to rely on your teammates, say if you're playing in pro clubs as one player. You will need to rely on your teammates a lot to be able to actually keep those quick players that can dribble and change direction so quickly, like Hazard, like, I don't know, other players, Messi, obviously, Ronaldo, Neymar, I could go on. But like those players, you need to be able to defend, and you need to have bodies behind it, because otherwise you have no chance of putting a tackle in unless you're right next to them. Within foot reach, so to speak, of actually getting that tackle in, because they just it's too easy to change direction. But it is realistic. So, and that's what we're going back to. It is realistic. It is easy to change direction in real life.
Yeah.
So, you know, it is better. It is better. The dribbling, the sprint first touch, you know when you've pressed R2 because it does get further in front of you as you start running from a jog to a run.
It's... Yeah, sorry, Matt, for interrupting you there. No, I was just going to say, it feels like the last couple of FIFAs, for example, like the touches and the dribbling have been a bit lackluster, basically. Sometimes you could be in top gear, but other times you could be stuck in first and second, like, and you can't get going. But in this one, when I've played it, I obviously had a brilliant chance with Hazard running through the pitch, took on about 4 or 5 players, and suddenly you just got straight into top gear, and he was away, and he was through on goal. And he tucked it away, you know. It feels more fluid, and it feels more obviously realistic, like you guys are talking about. So
yeah, I'm guessing if I can understand sort of like from what you're saying, Matt, it's very much based on the player himself. So if you've got, like, say, Hazard's gonna have a completely different sort of dribbling style to what you get off a player, maybe like, I don't know, like sort of like a Victor Moses, both equally quick players, but Moses is more of a powerful direct runner, and then you've got Hazard who's more of like an intricate, skillful player. And from what it sounds like, it's like the way that they'll play in game will be very differently. Whereas maybe in previous FIFAs, it's sort of been they've both got quite high, not a high dribbling, but quite high pace. And they've both got white dribbling. They'll both sort of go away at the same sort of speed. Whereas this year it seems more like Moses may be able to get away faster, but as soon as it comes to the sort of things where turning away from a player and getting past the player, Hazard will definitely be head and shoulders above other more powerful, say, physical players.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't say turning away from players, because turning away from players is actually very difficult now. It's more dependent on skill moves. The only time I've been able to turn away from a player is actually when I do a scoop turn or a certain skill move to actually get away from them. Because the physicality and those little animations allow for minor adjustments to be able to just keep that little inch to be able to keep up with those players. But yeah, I'd say it's more dependent on acceleration. I think I mentioned that in the first episode.
I think you did.
It is. I won't repeat myself then, but it is more dependent on the acceleration stat. So, like you say, Moses probably isn't the quick. He's not an amazing quick player, but he's not a slow player either. So, if you compare him to Hazard, yes, Hazard does take off a lot quicker. And like I said with Pedro, I mentioned last time, So Pedro is a perfect example, because he's not the quickest of players in terms of his full-on sprint speed, but in the way he can turn, his dribbling. It's just ridiculously good how much control you have over the ball with those types of players. Because and your options go on, because when you have more control, obviously you can play about with more skill moves, and it just makes it a much more fun game to play when you have that more options when you're in that attacking role, when you have the ball in your feet. So
it all sounds good, to be fair. Sounds like it's sort of a definite improvement on what last year and previous years showed us. I think to sort of close up this sort of part of it, I wanted to go into maybe sort of the more graphic area, maybe not in terms of player faces or stuff, but in terms of, say, kits and stadiums. I think this year it's been definitely, in real life anyway, the kits themselves, I think it's definitely more focused on aesthetic this year. Maybe not in FIFA itself, but in the real world, it's definitely more focused on aesthetic this year. And I think, how would you say, maybe looking at some of the kits in FIFA 18, how they've translated sort of the more design orientated feel of kits nowadays into FIFA?
Well, funny enough, the FIFA 18 beta don't have the new kits. The only reason why I'd
they
say
not?
no, they don't. The only reason why I'd say that is because I've looked for the Nike, well, I wouldn't say quite famous yet, but for those of you that don't know, Chelsea have signed a Nike deal, and that's replacing their Adidas logo, so to speak, on their kit, as far as FIFA's aware.
Jump ship.
Yeah, so
Jump ship to the better team, United.
oh, I don't know. I'd say it's more of a swap, but anyway.
Yeah.
And so the Nike emblem isn't actually there yet, unfortunately, so I can't really say, but I'm hoping it's going to look better. You know, we're never really disappointed with kits, are we, in FIFA? Let's be honest. That's one of the main reasons why we always get the new FIFA anyway. So yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So but yeah, in terms of the stadium though, the fans and stuff I think is a big thing. I think a lot of us have seen footage of the fan in the the fans.
I've seen stuff as well.
Yeah, and but yeah, it's better. I wouldn't say it's realistic to what I mentioned before about, I think it was the defending and the little animations about it being close to a real life game. It's not quite there yet with the crowd, unfortunately. So in terms of the gameplay, it's great, but in terms of the crowd, it like I say before, it's a step in the right direction. It has had a massive improvement. Yeah. However, it's not where it needs to be, unfortunately. You do see those random. Okay, let's move back to FIFA 17 for a second. When we look at the crowd, you do see the same animations from people like that are sitting 2 rows in front of each other or whatever. You see the same animations still. You do see that in FIFA 18, but not so that you notice. You actually have to be looking for that to then actually see it. Whereas in FIFA 17, you'd notice it because it happened. you wouldn't be looking for it. You'd just notice it and be like, oh, well, that's rubbish. But now you do actually have to look for it. And the crowd, the actual people in the crowd are more personalised. Now, I've noticed there's no really old people, there's no children, so it's mostly just middle-aged to like mid-20s, I'd say, people that are there. So you know, if FIFA has taken a step in the right direction yet again, but if they do want to get that sense of realism, they really need to add like the older people, the faithful. Type of supporters, like with the older kits as well, because a lot of supporters wear the older kits of those teams. You know, if they do want to improve that crowd, they need to add that element, because at the moment the crowd only has the newest kits, and they're the actual people that you see, obviously men and women. Yeah. And they're only from about mid-20s to maybe mid-30s ish. So you know, they're very specific in the type of crowd they've got yet, so they need to expand that variety. Yeah. But yeah.
I think what I noticed. Go on, Dan.
No, just I was gonna say, because you was touching on kits as well. Like, what they need to do is also they need to add like more classic kits into the game as well. Like, obviously, like Manchester United for one, like, they need to add their classic kit in, and quite a few Premier League teams as well. So.
Well, yeah, it's not as if it's not in the game though, because they do have the classic kits on the game. So it wouldn't take long to put it. It wouldn't take much just to put it on a fan.
Exactly.
They're not even really playing, are they? So you know.
I get like not every, but quite a lot of individual like sort of base models. Because I think the base models they've got this year, it looks like the base models you had for the managers. A lot of the sort of like basic faces you could choose in the managers and sort of what the fans have. And I think for them sort of to have a big change up like that, it would take a lot of processing power. Sort of get that many player models to go and sort of have individuality, which maybe in the future we can see coming in. But I think at the moment, I think if they're, as you said, Matt, definitely a step in the right direction.
Yeah. At the moment we are just limited to our processing powers that we've got on our gaming consoles at the moment, or PC if you're playing it on PC.
But PC's mod it, it's fine.
Well, yeah, that's very true. But I haven't actually seen any mods for FIFA, but
There are quite a few kit mods on PC for FIFA, like the new kits and stuff they usually have, and the transfer stuff. That's usually the main ones are.
Oh, nice. Okay, well there you go.
I think maybe to end on the kits, maybe everyone give like their most anticipated kit for next season, their favourite kit. PSG's new away kit. Now, if anyone's seen that, as you may know, Neymar's joined PSG. Dani Alves is at PSG. They've already got Marquinhos and quite a few other Brazilian players. But you may notice that their away kit is actually the yellow kit. It's yellow and green, I think, or just yellow. Sort of basically try and take the Brazil sort of kit and implement it into their own style with the Brazilian like players they've got in. And I'm definitely looking forward to that. And I think it's definitely a way that PSG may have used to entice some Brazilian players to their club this year.
I mean, I could just be boring and just say Chelsea, but that's because that's the team I support. Yeah. And that's, to be fair, that's pretty much the only kit I've looked at. So
Yeah.
I guess we are in the new season now, so let's just really be looking around. But I'm just looking forward to see that Nike tick. That's all I'm going to say. So.
Look forward to a new bumper sponsorship deal from Nike. Yeah.
Pretty much. So.
The money that Bram Richard used to fund his divorce.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dan, have you got a kit?
Yeah, a kit I think I'm looking quite forward to is obviously if we're just talking Prem at the moment, I'm looking at Huddersfield's kit. They're like their light bluey white
nice.
with the with the Puma like logo on the side. Like it looks pretty nice. Completely different. So, you know.
Sounds good. Got one from left field in there from you, Dan. Not going for the big like top hitters. You're going for the newly promoted like scrappy underdogs.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I think I'll let you take over from now.
Yes, so that is going to be the end of the episode, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Do watch out for next episode. We do have the career mode episode coming up where we actually talk about only career mode stuff. We're going to actually break down the design of it more and you know, just get that out there. So and let you guys know about the career mode side. So that's what's going to happen next episode. Guys, do you have anything to add before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I got a quick one. Obviously, we're talking about career mode next episode. We do have a special guest for next episode, don't we, Matt?
Do we? What is that?
Yeah, we do have the Burnley manager officially joining us in the next episode.
Oh, do we? Oh, of course. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah. He will be joining us.
Yeah.
So I forget about that. Yes, he will be joining us. So we've actually got that as a very special thing for you guys. Not really. But anyway, so all right.
Sean Duck will be here.
Yeah, he will be here. He will be here in his spirit.
Turning up to play with you lads.
But anyway, all right, that's going to be the end of the episode. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I've been mgoff1200 here with VFL Dan and Ethan, or Ethan Gaming's one, I think, or Gaming Channel. I don't even know what you're.
I don't know anymore. Just search them all in YouTube and find me.
Yeah. But anyway, that is that. If you did like this, please do like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks again, and I'll see you again soon.
Really.